Welcome to FinanceFeeds podcasts. FinanceFeeds is the world's premier interactive Forex industry news source, providing the latest insights and current affairs from within the online trading industry worldwide. Enjoy our latest podcast episode. The accounts provided by the Trading Pit to its clients are demo accounts with virtual funds. These are intended for traders to practice their trading skills and learn risk management rules. It's important to note that all trading activities with these accounts occur in a simulated environment. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to FinanceFeeds podcasts. My name is Nikolai Isaev. I'm editor-in-chief of FinanceFeeds. Joining me today is Daniela Egli, who is Chief Executive Officer at the Trading Pit. Daniela, welcome to our show. Happy New Year.
Hi, Nikolai. Thank you for having me on your podcast. Happy New Year. Really great to talk to you today.
Likewise. Daniela, so to kick it off, I wanted to ask you, you've held leadership positions at various retail FX firms prior to joining the Trading Pit. I was wondering what led you to make the switch to the prop trading side of the industry?
There were several factors at that point. It's been a bit over a year that I joined the Trading Pit. At that point, I was working in the retail brokerage business for 10 years and overall in the finance industry for about 15 years. So I had seen quite a lot. And I realized that the retail Forex business is becoming a little bit sluggish. There was not much innovation happening. As you know, there's a lot of restrictions in terms of regulations, and it's not just as expensive as it used to be. However, in comparison, prop trading is a new industry. It's very innovative. I mean, technologies are being invented every day for the prop trading space right now. Conflicts of interest are minimized with clients. Product is very attractive and offers huge benefits to the trader in order to provide them the ability to pass the barrier of entry, which is the capital, access to the capital. So these are some of the reasons, and of course the great management. I mean, as we talked earlier, that our co-founders Ilmar and Christoph, great guys with tons of experience in the finance and tech industry. So it's difficult to say no to them.
I think I agree with you that prop trading has grown immensely in popularity with traders in the last few years. And I think since 2015, so has the number of firms offering such services. And from what I see today, everyone is trying to put their own spin, I would say, on a prop trading offering. You just mentioned the co-founders and the immense growth of this segment. Can you tell our listeners what makes the Trading Pit stand out from what looks like really an already crowded field of companies in the space?
Yes, so again, I'm going to go back to the management because I think that's very important. We have management that comes from this space. I know that a lot of companies that pop up nowadays, they come from maybe from a more of a marketing space and so on. But although this may seem a little bit of an easier product, it's definitely very complex. So the management team is very important. We have a product that is extremely attractive with low cost and immense opportunity to scale up. We have a support team that provides incredible support. We are a multi-asset prop firm, so we offer CFD trading, but also we offer futures trading, and we plan to offer stock trading as well. And of course, we have the willingness to grow with our traders, right? We listen to our traders' feedback, we improve our products based on their feedback and our services in order to be able to provide them the best possible outcome.
It's interesting that you mentioned futures and possibly the ability to be able to trade equities at some point on the Trading Pit. Is that something that is a differentiating factor for you as compared to maybe some of the other, if I could call them larger players in the space?
I think it's definitely a differentiating factor. Right now, most of the prop firms that are out there are mostly focused on CFD trading. Simulation engine, as we talk about prop trading, so just to mention here that it's all on demo trading on simulation accounts, right? With a setup for CFD trading on demo accounts, it's a rather simpler setup to do, whereas a setup for simulation accounts for futures or stock trading is a little bit more complex. Maybe the costs will be a bit higher, right? So I think not a lot of the companies will want to invest in that. They will just want to go for the simple setup and,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, but we want to offer diversification to our traders, right? We want to offer them the ability to trade other products as well, maybe develop portfolios and have exposures to different markets. So this is the goal that we have in the vision, and I think that multi-asset is definitely a good angle for our traders.
Hmm. And I'm sure you're aware options trading has become very, very popular in certain geographies around the world. I'm wondering what your personal thoughts are on options trading and how it could it be an additional asset class that could be traded by traders at prop firms?
Uh, to be honest, we had some very basic discussions, and we questioned whether this would be somewhere where we would like to go. But
Hmm.
with options trading, there's more risk and slightly even more complexity. And we just said not for now.
Hmm.
um, Maybe with as we evolve as a company and the industry evolves, then maybe we will have the opportunity to revisit this and be able to set it up in a way that we think works best. But yeah, that's not definitely not a priority, and I don't know. I haven't heard anyone attempting to go in that direction. To be honest.
I see, I see. I do completely agree with you that there is a higher complexity to that market than there is to even futures, I would say,
Yeah,
at this
yeah.
point.
So
And although it's very, very popular, that doesn't necessarily mean that traders are being successful in that trading
exactly,
around the world.
you carry quite some scary stories about options
Uh-huh.
trading. So then, yeah, it's better to to if we decide to do it the right way, not rushing into it, really assess all the risks and make the correct setups that will be suitable for the traders, but for us as well.
Mhm. If I was in your shoes, I would think that there would have to be some sort of educational component to it up front so that,
Most
um,
likely, yes, most likely.
I wanted to also talk a little bit about the saturation of the prop trading space. Recently an industry colleague of mine said that they found something like 60 prop firms operating just in the United States alone. This is a person who just basically took some time and did some, open source research on the internet. In my mind, there's a lot of saturation of such firms in different markets where CFDs and Forex trading are offered. But at the same time, earlier this year, we learned of the legal actions taken by US authorities against a company called My Forex Funds. I'm sure you've heard of it. And earlier in our discussion, you mentioned, you've been in the industry for 10, 15 years now, obviously spent a lot of time on the retail side. And I wanted to ask you, do you think we should expect consolidation in the prop trading space soon or at some point in the future, given the history of the retail FX industry in the last, say, 20 years? Or do you think there's still an opportunity for what I would call the boom to continue in the prop trading space?
I think for a while the boom will continue. It's still a very exciting space. The regulators are not yet paying too much attention. So I think there's definitely room for a boom. Maybe for another 3-4 years. We don't know. Maybe when things may tend to slow down. Um, I do think that there will be some consolidation at some point when the industry will become more mature, when the regulators will catch on and they will want to start maybe imposing some restrictions. I think that when the many firms that will come into this industry will keep trying to compete on price alone. So, if you just compete on price, then there's not much where to go other than zero. So nobody wants to sell a product for nothing, right? So I think that that's where we will see consolidation. We'll see that maybe 20 to 30 big firms will survive, and those will be the firms that will want to compete on value, the value that they will provide to the traders, and those firms that have long-term vision, that they will want to have a long-term relationship with the traders. And yeah, I think that's where we're headed. But I think there's still a few years of boom, and let's see how that goes.
Me also having experience in the industry for quite a long time, it seems like things change when regulatory things sort of catch up, right? And at this point, I guess this segment of the industry, we could say that it's not necessarily regulated, but I think, at the same time, looking at your firm, at the Trading Pit, and several others, there's always going to be firms that are doing things in a genuine way in the interest of their traders and not necessarily in the interest of themselves. So I think in that respect, it is different from what we've experienced in the retail FX industry, 10, 15 years ago, when there were numerous players that essentially, I would say, sort of ruined it for for everyone else at a particular point in time.
Yes, I remember those days as well, and I guess we're taking the brunt of those days nowadays. Yeah, it's. I think that's. We will definitely say, as I mentioned before, I think we're going to see a lot of firms that don't come from the finance background. They think that this is just a marketing game, and they will try to do some things that will probably not be entirely good for the traders that will attempt to work with them. And depending on how big these firms will become and how much attention they will attract, is usually this is how it works, right? If they attract the negative attention, then the regulators will start paying attention, and then they will start, trying to regulate. We actually, we welcome regulation because we know that if you have regulations, there is a standard that everybody has to abide by, right? And we come from a regulated background, so this is nothing that it wouldn't be. It's something very familiar to us, you know. So we would welcome regulation, and if it comes, I think it's for the best of everyone. The standard will be set, everybody will know what to expect. You will be able to definitely discern which are the legitimate companies, against the others that are not so legitimate.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, it gives us a level playing field, so to say, once such things come into play. I was wondering if I could ask you a follow-up question with regards to retail firms. I see not a lot, but I see from time to time companies that have long been retail FX and CFD oriented, and also have institutional offerings of some kind are also getting into this space. Some I see are launching basically a sub brand of their retail offering to attract prop traders. And I'm wondering, could you comment a little bit on how do firms like the Trading Pit compete with such retail firms that have a long-standing retail offering and client base and are now trying to also get into prop trading, if that's something that you can comment on?
We haven't seen that as necessarily as a challenge. That's not one of the challenges that we're focusing on. We are familiar with the fact that there are brokers out there that are considering, if not already, have set up their own sub brands, as you say, that operate in the prop firm business. We're familiar that some already had them for a while, and it's definitely easier, I guess, when you have the infrastructure, a big part of the infrastructure. However, the technology that is needed for prop trading is quite different. That's why I was saying earlier that nowadays you keep hearing of new technologies popping up, because there is no technology right now, well-established technology that offers or covers all the needs of a prop firm, especially the risk parameters and the setting of and the tracking of the risk parameters for the challenges and so on. So that's a little bit of a more complex technology that is, there are obviously now a few players in the market, but it's not something that is very well known. So there will be challenges for these brokers that set these sub brands, because it's not as easy. And also the business model is quite different. It's a different way of generating revenue. It's a different way of marketing to the clients. It's a different way of treating the clients altogether, because you have to be happy for the clients to be successful, because you're going to be successful with them as well in the prop trading business, right? So that's why I mentioned earlier that conflicts of interest are minimized, and it's a different model from the brokerage business. So Yeah, they will have a client base that already, trades. So they probably have, let's say, a head start if we're talking about that. But then again, they will have these challenges of understanding the model of, and maybe sometimes when you come from a space that you think your experience covers everything that you need to know, right? You might shoot yourself in the foot because you're making the wrong assumptions, right? So, it's I haven't seen that as a major issue. We're not focusing on that. It's not a major issue, but definitely we will see. I think we will see brokers that are setting up sub brands, and maybe we won't even know that some of the prop firm brands are part of brokerage businesses because they might want to keep that separate for regulatory issues, or they will just want to, eliminate that conflict, make sure that the clients don't see that link and don't think that there's a conflict. So we might not even know which brokers have what prop firms, so.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think
Mhm.
it's something that I haven't considered yet. I wanted to go back just very quickly and ask you the My Forex fund situation, something that for me, maybe I was a bit naive, but it kind of surprised me. On the one hand, it's a US prop firm that we could say got into trouble. But one of the things that really stood out to me was in the allegations that were laid out by the prosecutors or the authorities here in the United States was that there was no clearing party to any of the trades on their platform, which to me, again, maybe I'm naive, but to me, I was like, oh my God, in 2023, there's a company that is essentially a prop firm, but is not clearing trades. And if I'm a layperson and I want to get into prop trading, I kind of thought to myself, okay, well, how am I even going to know? And what am I supposed to look out for when, let's say, I want to choose a prop trade firm to try myself out, right? As a trader, or if I'm already an established trader and I want to sort of keep going. Because you have so much experience in this marketplace now, I was wondering, can you give our trader audience some tips on what to watch out for when they're choosing, which prop firm to join?
For sure. I think some of the things can be quite common sense. So, for example, nowadays we're all using reviews to be able to know who we're signing up to or what even we're buying, even if it's a new shoe shop. You're gonna go and check reviews. Is this shoe shop legit, right? So I think that's one of the things that traders can definitely do nowadays easily. There's many places where traders can check the track record and reputation of a firm. They should check online reviews. They should obviously avoid firms that have obvious regulatory violations. You see announcements anywhere about some regulatory violations, or they see that they have poor customer experience. I mean, one of the tools that people use nowadays is Trustpilot, for example, and you can read through the reviews of different clients there or stakeholders, and you can see. I mean, there's never going to be a company that only has positive reviews. Actually, that should be quite suspicious if that's the case, because
Agreed. Yep.
there's no way that you can make everybody happy. Someone will be unhappy at some point, right? But it's important to be able to check these reviews and see, is there a pattern, right? Is there a common thread through the complaints, right? Because if it's one complaint here, okay, maybe that guy was a disgruntled guy and he just wanted to, to take it out. But if now we have 10 clients, we have 20 clients, 100 clients within a period of time that all complain about the same thing, that kind of gives you a sense of what's going on there, right? And when such reviews are in particular about customer experience and customer support, it's important to take that into account, because if you start working with a prop firm and you're not able to reach customer support, it's a big problem, right? You'll always need to discuss with customer support for one issue or another, so you need to be able to know that they are accessible. So that's another thing that's important. Check customer support, see if it's easy to reach out to anyone. Then check success stories. So big part of prop firms, let's say, proof of success of traders are the success stories that the prop firms publish. So that shows you that there are actually traders that are successful with that prop firm. right? So they can be directly on the website of the prop firm or on YouTube channels, or they post them on blogs or something like that. There's different forums where traders themselves can post their success certificates with different types of prop firms. So it's good to keep an eye out for that and see, are there traders who are actually successful with the prop firm? Are there legit payouts that this prop firm is providing? So that can give you a sense if you will also be successful. Also, I think an important thing for traders to consider is the risk management practices of the prop firm.
Okay.
So prop firms will always post, obviously, on their websites the rules, the risk parameters, and then the rules that the traders need to respect in order to maintain their account with the prop firm. And I believe that it's important to find prop firms that have risk and sound risk management rules, right? In the sense that if you have a firm that offers challenges that challenge one bucket challenge, you know everything is allowed, no risk management, it's already a little bit strange, right? So when firms show that they really care about the trader respecting sound risk management strategies that a trader would otherwise have to use if they had a real account in the market with their own capital, right? It's important to see. I think that's a sign that firm is serious, because the request to the trader to respect these rules is for the trader's best interest, right? And for the long-term lifetime of the trader with the company. And yeah, and one that probably it's important for traders that have different trading systems. So you have swing traders, you have day traders, you have futures traders, stock traders. You want to check that the prop firm obviously offers the type of product and the type of rules that are suitable to your trading system, right? Because if you go to a prop firm that doesn't allow HFT and that's your system, then obviously you sign up, and when you start trading, you're going to be immediately breached, right? So you need to make sure that you read the rules, and yeah, they match to what you need.
Mhm. Great, thank you. That's a lot of valuable insights.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit and speak about your leadership roles that we touched upon in the very beginning of our conversation. And I wanted to get some perspectives from you as part of our Women of the Industry series. This is something that FinanceFeeds does in terms of interviews, articles, where we focus really on women who are in leading positions within the industry or are up and coming, so to say. And I guess the first question is, do you think it has become easier for women to rise to senior leadership roles within the industry today than, say, 10 years ago when you were an up and coming executive?
Um, hmm. It's very difficult for me to make a blanket statement. Let's just say I think it will be very difficult for me. It's definitely going to be a biased opinion, right? Because I'm going to rely on my own experience, and of course thinking about my friends and the people I work with, and the women that I work with. But it's a very small sample size, especially in Cyprus. But in general, I feel that I've been lucky. I never had a feeling that being a woman was a challenging thing for me growing into my career. Actually, the biggest challenge to me was me. I would say. So I would say that I many times, if I in hindsight, I should have just get over myself and many situations, and maybe I would have grown in my career at a faster pace. But yeah, in general, I think definitely women, with every generation, there's definitely more women in the workforce, more women going up the ladder, because also we're changing generationally, right? The mentality of the society that we live in. So I definitely think that if only that being a factor, for sure, we can say that there's more women, right, that are rising up through their careers than it was 10 years ago.
Can you share some challenges that you experienced when you were ascending in your career, besides the fact that one of the challenges was you yourself, as you had just said?
Well, I'm going to say that it's personal development, one of the challenges that I experienced. To be honest, I think a lot of people and probably women in particular, when you get into a management position, usually not a lot of us, I think, have the ability to be groomed into a management role, right? It just usually it happens. You're good at the job as an, you're executor, as an officer, whatever. You've been, doing a great job, and then you're, the next possible step is to go into management. And I'm not sure how many people have the opportunity to, before that, to actually, work side by side with a manager that helps them, guides them, grow, helps them grow and stuff like that. I don't think that happens very often. And I think that when you make that step, into management for the first time, it is a little bit of a shock because it's a very different way of working, right? You have to be a bit more strategic. You have to learn to delegate, right? You have to, the way you relate to the people in your team changes, right? Now you have to do performance evaluations. You need to learn to give feedback, right? You need to start being good at conflict resolution because as a manager, you're supposed to, to do that, right? So there's many different skills that I think that if you weren't paying attention a lot before because you were not put in those situations or you didn't have someone to particularly guide you in that, then that's a little bit of a struggle for a while, to brush up on those. And I feel like I struggled with that, a little bit when I got into management a decade ago. So I think that many times at that time, I thought I wished I had a mentor. I would have really loved to have a mentor in my life, someone that whenever I felt like overwhelmed, that I didn't know what to do, I could just turn to them and just like ask them and I have a sensible conversation, give me tips and guidelines and ideas, how to deal with stuff. And I feel like that's one thing that I missed in my career, right? I feel like I had to constantly learn on my own, and that's not necessarily a bad thing because obviously you develop other skills when you're put in that situation. But yeah, that's one of the challenges, I would say, the most important one. And then of course the personal development, which is a big challenge. I had to learn to know myself well enough. I had to learn to have the strength to speak up for myself, to set boundaries, to take more risk, to remove limiting beliefs, to show up as an imperfect person. I think a lot of us, aim for perfection, and we get bogged down when we're not perfect in what we do or what we say. And yeah, I think those were some challenging aspects of the personal development journey that I had to also undertake during my career growth.
Hmm. Great. I guess, my next question was, what advice would you give to female colleagues who are in mid-level roles in our industry and have ambitions of becoming a CEO or C-level executive? I wanted to ask this because I see a lot of women in our industry that are in operations, marketing, compliance, many different functions. So they're just not well represented today, let's say, at the executive level. And I think with your answer to my previous question, I think one of the advice you would agree we could both give, because I had the same experience relative to you, is that if you have the opportunity to engage with a manager, someone who is either more senior, maybe they're in line with you, but if you feel like that person is a manager who can help you, who can mentor you, you should consider yourself lucky that there is an opportunity to engage with a person like that. And if there is, you should definitely take the time to do that. It would help probably to get over some of the, like you said, if I can call them fears, so to say. And I know for me personally, I had that opportunity. And so I had an opportunity for someone to be able to teach me on the side. It's not part of their job or my job, but to really kind of help me become a person who can manage a whole team of people and take on a hell of a lot more responsibility than I ever had before. I guess if you agree with me, what other advice would you say you would give to other women who are, exploring, thinking about, well, how do I advance further? Because my goal is to keep pushing. My goal is to keep rising within the organization that I work for or within the industry itself.
Very good question. And yes, definitely one of my answers would be try to get a mentor. And I think nowadays than 10 years ago, Nowadays it's much easier to find a mentor, and I think it should be as easy as, do you look up to someone? Maybe you follow someone on LinkedIn, you like their posts, you really look up to them, what they achieved, and you know who they are and stuff. And just reach out to them and ask them, would you like to be my mentor? I think many times people are very happy to help, and I think that would be one way to tackle that. And there is also actually mentorship programs that you can register now to, and you can get a mentor that way. But the other thing that I think it's really something for, is not only for the career but also for life in general. It's learn, learn, learn. Like, it's knowledge is power, right? And there is, to me, the idea is that nothing is given to us on a silver platter. I mean, not in my not in my life. It's not, if you want something, you have to get it. And the way you will get it in career, when we talk about the career, is by acquiring the skills, having the knowledge, right? You need to know your job inside out. You need to learn to use data to be able to create arguments in an objective manner as possible, right? Because at C level, you need to think strategically, you need to understand the business very well inside out, to be able to refer to the data, to be able to make proposals that are good for the company. Yeah, you need to be able to, when you're not yet in C level, try to get into different areas of the business, to learn how the business works from different perspective, to start connecting the dots, understanding what part impacts what part, and how each moving piece works together to create the whole. And just in general, try to continuous learning, right? Whether it's from books, from podcasts, from courses, certifications, mentorships, whatever works for you, whatever is suitable for the thing you want to learn. I think it's important to constantly do that, constantly look to do that, to be curious, to constantly want to, and slowly, because having the knowledge, and also another advice is, try to use that knowledge in practice as much as possible, right? Because just knowing things without applying it in practice is not always very helpful. So it's good to try to apply it in practice as much as possible, and you will definitely stand out, right? The other thing is obviously learning about personal development. I cannot stress it enough. All the things that I mentioned earlier, a lot of the times we are our worst enemy, our worst critic. We are the one that puts the stop to our growth or to our opportunities, because we think, what if this happens, or what if that happens? Oh, but surely they won't listen to me, or but surely, I don't have enough experience for this or for that, right? These are some kind of very common ways of thinking, right? So it's important to be aware of these of limiting beliefs and things like that, and try to overcome them, right? And try to overcome them, and maybe switch the mentality to, what if it works? What's the worst that can happen? Right? So yeah, I think one last thing, thinking of a role of a CEO or a other C level, one of the things I think that is very, very important is to learn to be as cool, calm, and collected, I like to say, as possible. Because although, emotions make us what we are as humans, when it comes to business setting, if we let emotions get the best of us, we're not able to think clearly, and we're not able to focus on the solutions. We'll focus only on the problem. So the best thing is to learn to manage the stress, to manage the anxiety, to be able to focus on what's important. So keeping emotions in check is another thing that I think is important. That's it.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Totally agree with all your points. Just thinking, as you're speaking, I'm thinking about my prior experience and current roles and everything like that. And definitely very good, valuable insights. Everybody listening, you should take this into account. Definitely valuable tips. I wanted to finish it off. All my last questions usually are kind of humorous. So we know that at the end of each year, like audio platforms like Spotify, they give you this thing called Wrapped, where they show you the top musical artists that you listen to during the year and whatnot. But I wanted to kind of formulate this a little bit differently. Can Daniela tell us three new musical artists that you actually discovered last year, and maybe the top three movies that you watched last year?
That's a fun one. So musical artists. I don't usually listen to a lot of new musical artists, and I'm gonna refer to 2023, right? Because this year is too fresh.
Sure.
You add three already new ones. Last year, I actually came across one singer that I also follow on Instagram, and I see she's becoming more and more popular. Her name is Morgan St. Jean. Um, she's her own songwriter as well, so she's a singer and songwriter, and she writes music that supports and speaks for women, for same-sex love, and like very very supportive, and I really love her. Particular, there's a song called "Do It Like a Girl" that I was playing on repeat for a while. Then there's another one called Kaleida, and they have a tune that's called Think that I really, really enjoy a lot. And John Jr., he's a DJ, and he has this tune that, again, I was playing on repeat called Angelito. And it's just, this deep house with some sort of Latin vibes. It's really, really catchy. So, yeah, those are three of the ones that I really enjoyed last year. New ones
Nice.
that I didn't know before. Yeah.
Khalid is also in my playlist there.
Ah,
So yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm not the only one. In terms of movies, I don't spend a lot of time watching movies because I don't have a lot of time, and I always feel like, you know, watching too many movies, it's a waste of time. Maybe it's not good to say that, but I did, like, now in the on the Christmas period, I actually binge watched quite a bit because I think I just took the time to relax and really waste the time. So I actually recently watched the miniseries. I think it came out 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. It's called "You Are What You Eat." I think it's related to eating healthy, and there was like this study where they actually tracked people who went on an omnivore diet versus a vegan diet, and then they tested certain parameters of their health, and they tried to make some assumptions. Anyway, the sample size was very very small, so but yeah, it was interesting. Interesting. I like these documentaries that talk about healthy eating and lifestyle, and it was interesting to see some points of views about these two diets. I've also binge watched the CrossFit documentaries. CrossFit is a sport that I enjoy a lot. And I used to do it quite often in the past, but I'm recovering now from a surgery, and I'm hoping that I'm gonna get back into it at some point this year.
yeah.
And finally, I actually watched the Matrix movies,
Ah,
the
okay.
whole Matrix movies.
Hmm.
I rewatched them now after so many years when they first came out, and I enjoy them so much. It's just crazy how a movie can last so long and it still be relevant. Actually, it's so relevant, right, to what's happening nowadays with AI and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so yeah, I really enjoyed watching them again. I watched all three of them, four of them, how many they were. Yeah, so those are my movies. Not really
Cool.
new, some of them, but
Sure, but still good recommendations nonetheless for our audience, I'm sure.
yeah. So how about you? What did you watch recently?
To be honest with you, I watch a lot of TV, well, movies and documentaries myself. I don't have the time to, I'm usually a reader, but if I'm too tired to sit there and read something, especially something very dense, if I could call it that, I would
Yeah,
rather just turn on a good movie or a good like documentary series or something. There's so many of these streaming services now that there's so much to choose from. And I think one of the movies that I saw close to the holidays or close to the end of the years on Netflix. It's called The Leave the World Behind. It's with Julia Roberts and a few other
I've
quite
seen it
famous
also. Yeah,
quite
yeah.
quite famous actors. I don't think I don't think it's a movie for everyone to watch. It left a certain impression on me. So that's one that I definitely remember from the holidays. And I think right now I'm watching something, some sort of like British limited series. I think it's called Fool Me Once. It's about a British ex-army lady. A lot of let's say Hollywood sort of script and
Uh,
twists,
uh,
but it's quite interesting. It's also on Netflix. It's interesting because it's the way it's made. It looks to me like it's a bit different from a lot of the other
yeah,
things that have been produced over the years in terms of like for commercial audiences. So I would say those two stand out for me. And music wise, I actually used to DJ many years ago in New York City here where where
really.
I live. So for me, it's a lot of DJ radio shows that happen every week. And if you use, I don't know about Spotify, but if you use things like Apple Music, it's just something that automatically, when there's a new mix that comes out, a playlist or new music, and I'm usually in the car, I will turn that on to kind of give myself a little bit of an emotional boost.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
beats and stuff like that. So that's sort of where I'm at today in a cultural music TV sense.
Interesting fact. I didn't know about you that you were a DJ.
Yeah, it's something that
It's
happened.
kind of
It
you.
was a long time ago. It has no relation to my current career. So Daniela, I think it's time for us to wrap up our conversation. I wanted to thank you very much for giving us a lot of deep insights into what's happening with the prop trade industry today, what makes the trading pit stand out from the rest, in a sense, and also sharing some of your personal experience in terms of your work, your career, and for the suggestions or the advice that you gave to our listeners in terms of women who want to growing and rise in the industry on what they should or could focus on to grow their
Mhm.
careers. Thank you. I think that's very important.
Thank you also. I'm really happy to share my experience and, of course, to talk about the trading pit. So, thank you very much for having me on your podcast today.
You're welcome, and the best of luck to you in 2024. I'm sure we'll see each other at an industry event or maybe in Cyprus later this year, and I'd love to catch up.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you, Nikolai.
Thanks for listening to our latest Finance Feeds podcast episode. For sponsorship opportunities or to become a guest, please email us at info@financefeeds.com.